We good? We good to go?
Yeah. Yep.
Good morning, everybody. I'll call this meeting to order. Please join me for the Pledge of Allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay, thank you very much. We'll start this morning's meeting with public comment, if we have any public comment. Nope, we don't have any public comment. Next, we'll move on to the Executive Director's Report. And Georgiana, good morning.
Good morning. Thank you, Mr. Chair. Let me see. Is this on? Can you hear me? Okay. So welcome, members. It is really good to see everyone here today. I do see a new member. Please welcome our new members here. Welcome very much. We are happy to have you with us. In your package, you have the draft governing board meeting minutes from September the 11th. You also have the project status for September. This is a project status report. This is for TPO projects and studies that are currently underway. For moving on to this month's Vision Zero crash data report. If you remember, we are showing the latest crash data that we have from month to month. This crash data was pulled on September the 24th. Crash fatalities in 2024 is 82, if you remember from the last meeting. Crash fatalities year to date in 2025 is 55. And since the last TPO governing board meeting held on September the 11th, there have been 8 crash fatalities. And some of the new news stories highlighted, Thursday, August 21st, 16-year-old girl was killed and her 15-year-old passenger injured in a rollover crash on State Road 520 in Cocoa. On Friday, September 12th, 83-year-old was killed in a Bright Line crash. The driver traveling eastbound on Eyster drove through the rail crossing arms. Crossing at Eyster Boulevard and US 1 already has a 4-quadrant gate, so there are no additional enhancements to that crossing. Monday, September 15th, 3 dead, 6 injured in a wrong-way crash on I-95. 34-year-old woman traveling southbound in the northbound lanes crashed head-on into a 34-year-old man traveling northbound. Both drivers and a 46-year-old woman were pronounced dead at the scene. Also on September 15th, a man, 68, killed when a pickup truck rear ends a golf cart on State Road A1A in Brevard County. And then Monday, September 22nd, a 55-year-old woman killed after entering the roadway into the path of an ongoing car. So this is a reminder, of some of the principles that, form the basis of a safe system approach. It's a holistic road strategy. People will inevitably make mistakes that can lead to crashes, but the transportation system can be designed and operated to accommodate those human mistakes and injury tolerances. So the responsibility is shared. All stakeholders, whether we're talking about designers to the road users, vehicle manufacturers, must ensure that the crashes don't lead to fatal or serious injury. So there's overlapping layers of protection. So we will be showing this every month just to kind of keep it front and center as to why we do what we do, and we support the initiatives for Vision Zero. Moving on to some good news, and this is our Ellis Road clearing and grubbing. Here we go. So I thought DOT did a fabulous job on this video. Chuck allowed us to show it in my director's report. And, it's the clearing and grubbing is slated to be finished in November. So they are really moving. And so what that means is it will be moving into full construction next year, like in the spring of next year, it'll be advertised. And so we want to celebrate these big wins that we have with all of our partners, including the DOT, the airport, and all of our municipalities. And then finally, I wanted to give an update on our Cocoa Brightline multimodal station. Some of you may have heard the federal-state partnership grant that the City of Cocoa submitted in the December of last year has been officially rescinded. It had been on hold. We've been anxiously waiting to hear the outcome of that grant. So all of the applications must be resubmitted. And so they have changed the name, and it is now called the National Railroad Partnership Program. Some of the criteria has changed a little bit in the Notice of Funding Opportunity, which Laura has printed off and has started, going through it. And under the Trump administration, there's $5 billion. There is a lot of money there for folks to apply. So we're already working on it. We've already met with the City of Cocoa and our Brightline partners. The TPO's consultant is going to take the lead on developing the grant, and the City of Cocoa will be the applicant. And we have a kickoff meeting on Friday. So we are on it, we're working on it, and we're going to keep moving forward. And we feel that this is going to be a really good opportunity. Applications are due January 7th, I believe. And then likely there would be an announcement in the spring of 2026. So, Mr. Chair, that concludes my report.
Thank you, Georgiana. Any comments or questions for Georgiana?
Adam, you had something?
Could you give us a brief synopsis of the difference between the failed application last year and the new one that they're working on now?
Well, the application last year didn't fail. They just rescinded the Notice of Funding Opportunity. Yes, they rejected all applications. I have not been through the Notice of Funding Opportunity. They have tweaked some of the criteria. This administration wanted to make sure there was no DEI type policies involved in it. There are several things. They wanted to make sure that these projects were based on economic development and return on investment, as opposed to some of the other criteria previously.
Is there anything we can do to enhance the process?
If you got more money to come up with, that would be good. More money for our match is always a good thing. The more match you got, the better you are.
I was thinking about citizen participation.
Not at this time, but we will definitely keep you posted and let you know.
Yeah, Pete, yeah, this is strictly because of Adam. Georgiana, how many parking spaces did you say were in that train station?
I believe it's around 400. Yes, Laura's shaking her head.
Okay, so if the thing is fully built, we're going to take 400 cars off the road if it's filled all the way up. 400 cars, you get one lane on a highway, it's 1,200 cars per hour. Yet for 400 cars, this is going to be the #1 project in Brevard County. And just to me, that don't make a bit of sense that we put that as #1. If all you're going to do is take 400 cars in the county off the road, and then those are mainly the B line and I-95, then that doesn't make good sense. We should be going after the 1,200 per hour per lane as to reduce traffic. But for some reason, some folks just love the idea of the train station, even though it's not even a cake, let alone icing, let alone candles, and I'm going to let it go at that.
There's a lot more involved than 400 cars in a parking lot, I can assure you.
Yeah, but if the parking lot is full, those are the cars that are subtracted from the road.
understood, but, you know, these people are coming from Miami and potentially Tampa once that station
We're not talking
becomes.
about that. I'm just talking about reducing traffic on our highways.
Yes, so am I.
And, you know, if they're coming from South Florida, let's say catching a cruise, and they're going to jump on a bus, well, there never would have been a car on the road for those people anyway. And if we're looking to reduce local traffic, which is on my mind, how do we keep traffic down in Brevard County? Then we have to increase capacity or use other effective ways like ITS systems. And later on in your agenda, you're going to get to where we're in partnership to come up with these non-construction ideas to reduce traffic and increase capacity. In Orange County, they have bikes where they rent electric bikes in downtown Orlando and to keep cars off the road. And I'm just picking on the train station because for reducing traffic in Brevard County, it really doesn't do much. And I know that, and that's why I pick on it.
Well, just to, put it also in perspective is that a lot of people will be dropped off at the station. So those are cars that wouldn't be doing a full, drive of wherever they're going for the day, or there'd be local bus service. So I appreciate your comment, but I'm not really certain that just the size of the parking lot is going to be, dictating the amount of reduction in traffic. But your point's well taken.
Well, don't think about it too hard. One car in the parking lot is one less car on the road.
Greg?
Yeah, after just participating in the APA conference up in Daytona Beach and doing a TOD/Sunrail tour over in Sanford. Sanford was sponsoring it. Their focus was on economic development. And we got a walking tour of downtown Sanford, and then we were provided an excellent tour by FDOT on Sunrail itself. And what I see is instead of being focused on auto and truck transportation, I'd like to see a larger umbrella looking at economic development and the long-term impacts that multimodal transportation can provide to the citizens. One thing I was recently read in one of the trade mags was how Brightline is re-engineering their train service to provide a better commuter-type rail service in South Florida and dropping back to less long-term service to Orlando to better balance the needs of the people who actually use the system. And I would think if we do put our 40 or 50-year hat on, we can see projects like this are very important to not Cocoa Rockledge, but to the whole county. Thank you.
And I would say the state as well.
Go ahead, Bob.
About 2 weeks ago, we had our first cargo shipment of biomass from Instructure, our stevedore, and it went down to Honduras and the Dominican Republic. Talked to a couple of the drivers, and they said round trip, the material was coming from about 60 miles away, which is almost the distance between Ellis Road and the port. So there's a very good chance that that material from the clearing and grubbing got chipped, came up, went on a ship, and it's gone down to these clean burning power plants in Honduras and Dominican Republic for generating power. So I thought that was pretty cool. Don't know exactly where it came from, but first shipment went well, and we may have more of those. A lot of that is coming from this type of work that's going on all over in Central Florida.
Very good.
Thank you, Bob. Anything else for Georgiana? Okay, thank you. We'll move on. The next item is the consent agenda. We have one item today. That's the Technical and Citizens Advisory Committee meeting minutes from September 8th, 2025. And I would look for a motion for approval. Have a motion. Do we have a second? Second by Steve.
And from the CAC, do we have a motion, please?
I'll make a motion.
Motion from Greg, second from Adam. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? The TAC motion was, yeah, Debbie Flynn
And Steve seconded.
Steve
I'm
seconded.
sorry. Sorry, Debbie. And from the TAC, all those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed? Okay, item carries unanimously. Next item is our action items. We actually have two today. The first one is the Regional Transportation Management and Operations Program Memorandum of Understanding and Resolution 26-09, Fiscal Year 26 Unified Planning Work Program Amendment.
Thank you. Laura Carter, Assistant Director, Space Coast TPO. I know that was a big mouthful for the item that we're approving, but this really, in reality, is kind of a long-term process that was initiated by Metroplan Orlando years ago. In 2021, we had entered into a memorandum of agreement understanding with them to discuss the opportunities that our technology can bring to our capacity issues. And we abbreviate it as TSMO, but it is Transportation Systems Management and Operations. This particular MOU before you today is really an extension of the original one, and it does expand from the West Coast to the East Coast. On page 32 of your agenda packages, it kind of highlights the collaborative effort that this is going to be doing for the entire Central Florida region. From there, you can see there are multiple entities. All of the MPOs in 3 different districts will be participating in this collaboration effort. And I just want to take a moment to highlight and remind everyone what TSMO and ITS technologies and strategies can do for our current issues with various issues in capacity that is constrained in certain areas and the technologies that can be leveraged. Traveler information systems. We have your smart zone workspaces and your dynamic meshes signs when there's a crash or an incident. Having that advanced warning can reroute traffic, reducing congestion and secondary crashes and instances. So really this is a great opportunity for us to collaborate with our partners statewide and specifically within the Central Florida region. And the TPO has a long history of actually being involved with TSMO and ITS. We adopted an Intelligent Transportation Systems Master Plan and updated it back in 2021. We already participate. D5 has about quarterly or every other month meeting with the TSMO partners within Central Florida and District 5. We plan on relaunching our local consortium. We have our kickoff meeting in a couple of weeks. That's where we'll meet with our local partners here in Brevard County, primarily Brevard County, City of Titusville, Melbourne, and Palm Bay. They all have their own ITS, TSMO strategies that they deploy throughout their traffic signals and their systems within their communities. So that'll be an opportunity for us to collaborate locally. And then obviously we have our ITS projects in our list of project priorities. We already have that going for us. So today, because this was not anticipated a couple of years ago when we developed our UPWP, it also requires an amendment to include this collaboration and this agreement. But today's ask is really just to approve partnering and participating in this MOU with our regional partners.
Thank you, Laura. From the TAC, any discussion or questions? Go ahead, Bob.
The other TMPOs, are they also providing funding support?
There is a plan within the, many of them are either going to do it this year or incorporate it because the budgetary mechanism or UPWP is a 2-year plan. So many of them are going to be waiting until the next one, which is next July. We're being able to amend it because we have the funds right now to help participate, and that's still being worked out exactly how that will be, but it's a very minimal amount to help fund and participate.
Yeah, Pete.
Yeah, hey, Laura. Years back, we were talking about a traffic operations center. Did that ever open up?
Funny you should ask that. The TMC is actually, we've received bids. It should be having a groundbreaking within the next couple of months. And we do anticipate moving. You'll notice it because our meetings will be moved there once it's open. Construction should start early spring, and we anticipate about a years-long construction plan. And so probably 2027, we'll be moving into the new TMC. They have already moved to where they're at now temporarily. And have expanded, but obviously everything costs funding. We need more staffing, and this will allow us to expand and really kind of get out there a little bit more with our ITS.
All the ingredients necessary for part of the recipe to make what you're talking about up there work better in Brevard County.
Absolutely. That's another reason for the local consortium to start getting back together so we can identify those shared resources.
Well, thank you for the update.
Yeah, Adam.
Do we, Kohler, District 1, do we know an estimated cost of this cooperative effort?
It's $12,450.
How much?
$12,450.
Okay.
And that's to help MetroPlan, their support staff. They'll be heading up, all the logistics with holding meetings and stuff.
Okay, and then the follow-up question is, are there going to be multiple meetings, and will they be scattered over the 7 or 8 districts that we're talking about here?
I believe.
They're usually virtual meetings.
Oh, they're virtual, okay.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Because there's 10 MPOs involved, so it's a lot easier to do these meetings virtually. And also, Adam, to Laura's point, the funding is tied to the size of the MPO population. So each MPO had a certain amount of money to, and ours just happened to be a little over $12,000.
I only expected it to be a lot more than $12,000. That's very good, thank you.
Any further discussion? If not, I'd look for a motion from the TAC. We have a motion from Debbie. Second? Second from Christie. Over to you.
Okay,
Bill.
do we have a motion from the CAC, please? Motion from Laura. We have a second. And second from Gil. Any questions? If not, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed?
And from the TAC, all those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed? Item carries. All right, next is the 2026 Space Coast TPO legislative policy positions.
All right, I'll attempt to do this one. As you all know, each year the TPO develops a set of policy positions. And it's really just to convey those important areas of focus that really impact and influence the TPO and other member governments as well. And so the TPO's past policy positions have focused on funding, safety, and technology. Last Tuesday, September the 30th, the Brevard delegation meeting was held at the Commission chambers, and so I did participate in that and speak on some of the focus areas that we would like our legislators to focus on, and of course thank them for any assistance and help that they gave us for Ellis. So really, staff is only recommending one update. But, for the new members, I'd like to just run through this very quickly so that you know what the policy positions are for the TPO. Everyone should have this little flyer at your place. And on the first page, you see top priorities. These are really the 3 overarching priorities that we focus on: funding, safety, and technology. Increase funding for transportation that does not negatively impact the State Transportation Trust Fund. We need to use the MPO planning processes to select projects rather than legislative appropriations. If you do get a legislative appropriation, you need to make sure that it is passed from a non-transportation funding source, meaning it's not coming out of the trust fund. Pull it out of general revenue, because if it comes out of the trust fund, that's not new money. That money is already on projects in the DOT's work program, and that is very important to this process. Safety, support Vision Zero safety initiatives to reach zero traffic fatalities and serious injuries. And then finally, technology. We want to increase the resiliency and the efficiency of Brevard County's transportation system by advancing technological network advances. So no changes there. Moving on to page 2. And this section at the top of page 2 really kind of digs into the funding in greater detail. We want our funding to be dedicated, flexible, and sustainable. The first one is regarding TRIP funding. It's Transportation Regional Incentive Program funding. We want to fund the TRIP program at a predictable level. TRIP funds have fluctuated and funds have been diverted for non-transportation purposes. TRIP funds comes from dock stamp revenue, and just this past session, there was a bill that was to move a significant amount of TRIP funding beginning in fiscal year 26 over into a different role, and so it was really tied to housing. And so that, if that would have happened and the governor did not veto that, it would have taken all the TRIP money off Ellis. It would have taken the TRIP money off of an important, or dock stamp revenue off of a Space Florida project. And it would have also taken TRIP money off of our Traffic Management Center. So needless to say, Brevard County would have been hit worse than any other MPO in the district. So you really need to understand what it is you're doing whenever these bills are being passed. The next one is to develop a resilient network of transportation infrastructure and evacuation routes. The third one establishes flexible and predictable funding for transit projects. State law limits, the amount of funding from the trust fund for capital, for transit, capital and operating. And, I think we shouldn't underestimate the critical role that transportation plays, that transit plays in moving people. And then the fourth one, study of potential revenue replacement options for the current motor fuel tax, which can no longer fully support the future needs of our Florida's transportation system. And then the last one is to charge alternatively fueled vehicles a fee equal to the fuel tax paid by gasoline or diesel-fueled vehicles, such as an EV registration fee. So that is all of the funding. And down at the bottom, safety and innovation, we are going to strengthen existing pedestrian and bicycle safety laws, engineer and redesign our roadways for appropriate speeds, and monitor regulations on distracted driving. And then under that, we're going to support the advancements of innovative transportation mobility, solutions and policies that make Florida the national leader in creative approaches to addressing transportation needs such as autonomous, connected, electric, and advanced traffic signals, as well as technologies not yet developed. I think advanced air mobility would fall under this. Florida wants to be a leader in advanced air mobility, and I see that it falling under that category. And then moving on to page 3, at the top of the page, support safe operations for electric bicycles. This is the new one that we're proposing be added to these policy positions. If the micromobility, Senate Bill 462 changed the definition of a micromobility device to include things like e-bikes and scooters, electric scooters, that they have the same duties as a bicycle. And it allows local governments to adopt minimum age requirements for e-bikes, for e-bike operations. And so basically what we want to do is just really expand that law to address safe operation of electric bicycles. It needs to go deeper because we have talked about e-bikes and that there is really no control over it other than what can be done on the local level. So there needs to be a focus on that. And then the next one is support move over for people. Florida continues to rank as one of the worst states for pedestrian fatalities. So it just really expands the move over law to include people and protect vulnerable road users, such as pedestrians, bicyclists, and disabled vehicles using mobility devices. And then the third one is Hands-Free Florida. We want to monitor this. This regulates distracted driving by prohibiting the use of handheld two-way electric wireless communications while operating a motor vehicle on any roadway. And then down at the bottom is the Space Coast TPO's priority transportation projects. We just have a little barcode here that will take take you to our list of project priorities, but we don't want to call out any single project. And then on the last page is our governing board members, and we felt that it was important that they be included so that, they fully embrace what these policy positions are. So that is our recommendation, is just to add one, and that is to support the safe operations of electric bicycles, and be happy to get your comments on this.
Discussion, comments for Georgiana?
Hello, Georgiana.
Hello.
Now that we're starting to get a handle on e-bikes, I'd like to move on to something else.
Okay.
Well, out on the trails, I'm starting to see these golf carts in North Brevard, and it seemed like young, 14, 13, 12-year-olds, and they're flat out getting it. And, their rules of the road aren't really too polite. As young as they are, kicking their butt would be no problem, but they're too fast, can't catch them. So have we ever discussed the use of golf carts on public facilities meant for pedestrians and bicycles, like the bike lanes and the sidewalks, because that's what they seem to be using? Has that ever been brought up or a concern? Or
Yes, I mean, it's come up, in Vieira, it's come up with Brevard County. Depending on where the trail is, there can be enforcement as well. But trails are supposed to be non-motorized. So for golf carts to be riding on a trail, there needs to be some sort of enforcement on that. So yes, it has come up multiple times.
Well, the reason I'm bringing it up to start a discussion on it, are there any regulations prohibiting the use of these? You said on trails, no motor vehicles. There's a sign there, no motor vehicles.
Mm-hmm.
But is a golf cart even classified as a motor vehicle? See, I don't know this. I'm just starting to get into it.
A golf cart should be, it's a motorized.
Well, because when I looked for e-bikes to see if they fit the definition of motorized vehicles, they had to be 45 miles, it has to be able to maintain a speed limit of 45 miles per hour to be classified a vehicle. That was for e-bike. So the e-bikes didn't cut it. And I'm just starting to poke my nose into the golf carts. And, people from Vieira really got a problem with it. I'm just starting to notice a little bit of problem on the north end of town. So it's like a flow of crap that's expanding, It's traveling and it's getting more involved, and a lot more of us are getting aware of it.
I could be mistaken.
Sorry,
Yeah.
I was kind of waiting here.
Then go ahead. Yeah.
Thank you very much. Rarity, agreeing with Pete on especially the Vieira area. I think one of the things that we need to kind of maybe start moving the needle on is changing the name. What these people are driving are not golf carts. Golf carts are governed, and if you've ever been on a golf course, which I do not go to, I have a high degree of confidence that those things are governed to a very low speed. What these people are driving now are just so fast.
They're low-speed vehicles that you also need to have a tag.
Define low speed, because these things are ripping.
Yeah.
And, I walk my dog on the sidewalk and they rip up behind me, and it's like they're on top of you before you even begin to hear them. And the other thing, especially when I see kids, and I'm talking about high school age and younger, that are driving these things, as a avid mountain biker promoter, helmets. They don't wear helmets, and there's no safety in those things. So, all I'm going to add to the conversation, Pete, is change the name. These are not golf carts. We got to come up. Is it low-speed vehicles?
Categories.
Yeah. Well, anyway. Yeah, golf carts are nice and slow, and they move real nice. And
Yeah. Well, there's a
Anyway.
situation on A1A, and I don't know if Lorene can talk about that, but, depending on if the speed is posted at 35 miles per hour, can a low-speed vehicle actually, it's either 30 or 35,
35.
be on the roadway? That's a little tricky. I don't know, all of the regulations on that, but there is a difference between a golf cart and a low-speed vehicle. One has to have a tag on it, the other one doesn't, and it has to do with the speed. But there needs to be some enforcement. If these vehicles are on a trail or on a sidewalk, there needs to be enforcement, and I think there is a state law that differentiates those two vehicles.
There is.
In the back, go ahead.
Yeah, I know as far as e-bikes, I seen something the other day, because they had a deputy that pulled over and gave tickets to kids. So it was like, if it was able to be pedaled and could stay under like 20 miles an hour, then it's like a bicycle. They had like 3 parameters on there. So that's what some of the police departments are going off of. And then in regards to the golf carts, there is a state law that the kids actually have to have a driver's license
14.
Permit.
or a learner's permit in order to drive by themselves.
That's 16.
Thank you for that. Any other discussion?
And I know Leah has been actively working in the schools, giving out, we've been able to get our hands on some e-bike education materials. And so she has been sharing that with some of the PE teachers and working in the schools on that. Abby, did you want to say something?
Yeah, I just wanted to add that for e-bike safety, from the TPO perspective, it's really difficult because we're not implementing or enforcing. So we're trying our best to work with our partners, the schools, law enforcement. Back to just what Pete said, though, it does go back to enforcement because when the rail trail first opened up in North Brevard, there were ATVs out there, people were let loose, and we ended up contacting, we had some complaints, the city had complaints at one point, and we worked with enforcement. So I would just, advise in your local areas to get involved because it does take kind of multiple partners
Yeah.
to solve an issue.
Thank you, Abby.
So regarding like statements or positions on the e-bikes and scooters, I mean, you mentioned scooters and we see them all the time where I live. So I'm just wondering why it may be, a good idea to have e-bikes and scooters because of the speed that they can
Yes.
go.
As I was reading it, I'm like, okay, we left off e-scooters because that was part of the micromobility bill. So I think that's a great idea. We will put electric bicycles and e-scooters. So we'll add that.
Thank you.
I deal with the golf carts all the time. My suggestion, I'm not exactly how you raise money for whatever you raise money for the transportation, but if we could provide some kind of education where you have to pay a fee in order to have a golf cart, and you have to go through the classes. If you're under a certain age, it has to have a governor on it if you have a young person driving. I'm not sure if you guys can help implement these things, but I do think that would help raise funds. If to go through a course, maybe it's not mandatory, but if you do it, possibly work with the insurance agencies to lower some of your car insurance.
Well,
Possibly.
that is the purpose of putting this on our policy positions, because this has to go through the legislation.
Yes.
This is not something that we can do on the local level. And so this is something that they need to deal with in Tallahassee, and it's an issue.
It is an issue.
It's a serious problem.
Okay, yes, I'd like to see recognition of the golf cart and the low-speed vehicle in the terminology there, as well as the scooters. because the usage is abused around here. in Humboldt County.
But there's already laws.
I know there's laws,
for-
but there's no accountability going on, and it needs to be brought to the attention.
But that's enforcement. That's not.
I know.
Is there a place on our policy positions because there's no
The
enforcement?
law enforcement's not getting trained.
Well, that has nothing to do with these policy positions, Ginger. Let's focus on what these positions are. This is policy positions where we can affect change in Tallahassee. This isn't about a lack of enforcement.
Okay. Well, also, I don't understand the terminology of monitor the hands-free Florida. Why aren't we supporting the hands-free?
We suggested expand, and last year, our governing board wanted us to change that to monitor, and that's why it says monitor.
That's very disappointing.
Yeah, hey, Georgiana, I brought this up because it was the right place to bring it up. If it's a legislative priority right at this instant, I doubt it, because we're in the information gathering of it. It's like, I really don't know what the rules and regulations in the state legislature. I'll have to read up on it to inform myself. But I see such a wide use of them that I didn't think there's any rules and regulations. I don't see any blue lights and traffic tickets.
Yeah.
And I see young kids, 12, 13, 14, driving them. So I think it's the Wild West of the golf course out there, as long as you can jump in one, you can legally drive it. And it's just something I think that I need to look into more. And just in the discussion going on, it seems like nobody really has a handle on it, exactly what it is. So it's just something I'm going to think about, and I just was bringing it up, that it's something that we do need to pay attention to, and maybe need to get everybody on the same page.
I think that's a good idea. Abby has also tried to get her hands on some education material specifically for this. And
I was just going to say, we can share a link back with our committees as determined by the Florida Department of Highway Motor Safety Vehicles. They have a great educational page that spells out the difference between golf carts and
Yeah.
golf carts, because that's what we're like to see out here.
we will share, let's do that. Let's share that, and I also need to
Hey, sure, 'cause-
refresh myself on the difference as well.
Well, even in the definition, there's a definition of a golf cart, there's a definition of an ATV. We have different definitions for the same type of thing. It has a roof over it, it's battery powered, and some of them can go like hell, some can't. So, it seemed, like I said, the Wild West out there, and some that I think we should clean up and, see if we can come up with some good rules for everybody where it isn't a problem.
Okay.
Yeah, Pete, I completely agree that education, for me, would start with us. And Abby, certainly if you have a pointer to get us educated on what the rules are, rather than Pete knowing and me digging and you digging, we could use it as an educational tool for all of us and start spreading the word from here.
Great idea. Yes.
So
We will do that.
That's Pete's idea. I'm all in favor.
Yes.
I'm all in.
I do want to say, as it relates to these initiatives, I do appreciate that we clearly state that the motor fuel tax no longer supports our current needs and our future needs. I think that's really important that that's in there.
Yeah.
And we're recognizing that, we're saying that, so
Yes.
good job on that. The other thing that I wanted to say was, again, thank you for recognizing safety and as it relates to vulnerable road users. I think that's really important in our county, and we need to keep that at the forefront.
I just want to add one little thing. I just want to congratulate Georgiana. She did a really good job presenting this to our legislative delegation. In case you don't know, you have 3 minutes to present your case at the delegation meeting, and there was really little or no discussion, but she did a good job presenting our priorities.
Well, thank you. So we are asking for approval of the 2026 legislative policy positions, and we will, if you approve, we will take this to the board on Thursday and have a discussion with them.
Great. And from the TAC, I'd look for a motion to approve. Debbie? Do I have a second?
Giantonio, second.
Thank you.
And from the CAC, do we have a motion, please?
I move to approve.
Motion from Eric, second from Pete Pettit. All in favor say aye. Aye. All opposed?
And from the TAC, all those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed? Item carries. Next up is the presentation section of our agenda, and we have one presentation today, and that is the 2029 Governing Board Strategic Plan. It's on page 53 of the agenda.
Good morning, excuse me. Sarah Crom, Senior Transportation Planner with the Space Coast TPO. For those that might be aware of, for the past 6 years, we have had a governing board strategic plan. We do 3-year increments, just because clearly things change and we want to make sure that we're revisiting and refreshing and keeping our priorities with our governing board fresh. We are currently moving our, this actually shouldn't say fiscal year, this should be calendar year. We are currently moving our board strategic plan to a calendar year of 2026 through 2028, simply because our governing board gets appointed annually, not by the calendar year, not by the fiscal year, as well as we wanted to get through the LRTP before finalizing this. So as a reminder, for those that are newer, our governing board provides the policy and direction for the Space Coast TPO as an organization. It's made up of 19 elected officials, and it falls under Florida Statute 339.157 2B. Take that governing board and they guide our governing board strategic plan, which is what we'll be presenting on today. And these are supposed to be specific actions for the governing board. This is not actions for TPO staff. However, the actions for the governing board and the direction of the governing board provides direction to the staff strategic plan. That then outlines the activities that staff will be conducting annually, which ultimately leads into what Laura mentioned earlier, the Unified Planning Work Program, which is our 2-year budget. And so all of these strategic plans ultimately lead into what we're doing on the day-to-day. As a reminder, the Space Coast TPO's mission is to plan a transportation system that enhances the quality of life and economic development by engaging the community. And our vision is to provide a safe, multimodal, innovative, and resilient transportation system for all. So developing this board strategic plan, we did in April, we held an interactive session with our governing board. It was quite lengthy. It was the main focus of the meeting. And we went through several activities with them. Obviously, it was open to the public. Anyone could attend and place any kind of public comments as well. The priorities that came out of that meeting were funding, collaboration/communication, and linking mobility and land use. So staff took all the items that we heard and all the feedback we received at that meeting, and we came up with 3 emphasis areas and 4 focus areas, which are funding the future. The emphasis areas are funding the future, partnership and outreach, linking mobility, and land use. And we wanted to ensure that the focus areas were integrated as well, which are the core work products that we've been continuing to work on: safety and vision zero, resiliency and sustainability, technology and data, and then a new one is efficiency and transparency. So I'm just going to walk through the 3 emphasis areas. And so funding the future is basically focused to expand and leverage regional and sustainable funding sources to increase priority project implementation. And essentially the problem that this emphasis area is trying to solve is the current gas tax revenue is not a sustainable long-term transportation funding source. So ultimately, at the end of the 3-year period, we want our governing board members to have taken an active role on the local, state, and federal level to expand and leverage transportation funds. Well, how are we going to do this? Here's a list of actions for our governing board members to work on throughout the 3-year process. monitor upcoming federal reauthorization bill, engage legislators in conversations about state legislation. The legislative priorities is a tool that they can use. Only pursue appropriations if they are drawn from the general revenue, which is considered new funding. Encourage legislators to support and fund FDOT's research on potential revenue replacement options, the current motor fuel tax, leverage state and federal funding through local match, and pursue new local funding sources on the countywide level to assist in funding the TPO's priorities. The next emphasis area is partnership and outreach. And that is to encourage public participation and board engagement through collaboration and partnership within the community. Trying to solve two problems that came up with our governing board is the lack of public understanding on the process and funding of transportation projects, and there is a need to increase stakeholder communication related to transportation. And our performance measure will be increased open communication with stakeholders from public to elected officials, so everyone's talking to each other. We're going to do this or our governing board's going to do this by reporting relevant TPO actions and policies to their councils and boards, sharing TPO social media posts on the news, attending the workshops and events that the TPO conducts, and to first contact the D5 FDOT staff and secretary with issues or concerns related to state roads. Next is the linking mobility and land use. It is to plan a network that provides transportation choices and linkages to community and economic resources. The problem is that the transportation network does not reflect the needs of the surrounding development and land uses. And so what we'd like to see in 3 years is increased connectivity, mobility choices, and opportunities for smart growth within the Space Coast area. This is a little bit of a longer list, but support municipal development of land use codes and policies that support a multimodal transportation system, kind of going back to what Greg was talking about with TOD. Ensure comprehensive plans are utilized and include a connected network for all modes of transportation. Explore opportunities to connect transportation hubs and further transit-oriented development, including the COCO multimodal passenger statement. Approve TPO's development of relevant plans and programs such as the sidewalk gap analysis, trail projects, an ITS master plan, and others. Support and fund and expand the Space Coast area transit system. Fund a mobility on demand program within a municipality and fund projects that improve connectivity to affordable housing by improving system connectivity and mode choice. So our next steps is that we're going to be presenting this to our governing board on Thursday. There will be a review/comment period for our governing board members to provide any kind of input through the end of the month, and we'll make any kind of massages or tweaks based on feedback that we hear during the comment period, today's meeting, and Thursday's meeting. We will be adopting this in December with our governing board, so then in January we'll have a nice new board strategic plan. I know it kind of looks a little funky the way it printed in your agenda package. It will be a bifold like the legislative priorities. So with that, I'll take any kind of questions or comments.
Yeah, Adam.
I think we've got an error here on page 53. It says draft 2026 to 2029, and then it mentions it three times down on the bottom of the page. We go to page 58, it says 26 to 28.
Correct, yes. That was
So
the
I wanted to make sure
typo.
you caught that, okay?
Yes, thank you.
Go ahead, Pete.
Yeah, hi, Sarah.
Hi, Pete.
I'm looking at pursue local funding.
Which page are we looking at?
This isn't a criticism.
Okay.
You'll be able to jump in real
Okay.
quick. There are three mechanisms that I know of that local governments have. One is the state allows us to increase the gas tax, I believe, up to 5 cents a gallon. Second one the state allows us to do is impose impact fees, and that's up to local government. And the third one is do a referendum and have a countywide sales tax. Is there anything besides that we can ask the state to allow us to do, like throw politicians in jail if they don't go along with us?
Those are the three major ones that I'm aware of. However, we are working with one of our consultants to do a funding presentation, and I think we settled in February. And so they're going to present to both this committee, these two committees, as well as our governing board about potential options and the pros and cons and the processes of pursuing them.
Pete, I'm sorry, I was just going to mention, I've also heard one of the options that the county commission was looking at during the budget workshop, it was called a utilities
Oh, yes,
tax.
yeah.
You know, which would, it's actually the biggest bang for the buck. So utility services, there would be a tax on that to be used for transportation. But I cannot remember if, you know, I think that it's, I think it would have to go to the voters and not, you know, just a, I think it would have to go out to the voters before they would do that. So that is another option, and so we'll be looking at what's out there.
Okay, appreciate that, Georgiana. And then I have a second part too for the state. And you know, for the state, well, we know they rely on the gas tax to fund road. And we've been debating that in here for 15 years that, that the gas tax just doesn't cut it anymore. Is there anything that the state is coming up with for additional funding to support transportation besides the gas tax that you're aware of?
Not at this time, as you know, that's clearly what our legislative priorities are directing. But Georgiana, do you have any?
Well,
I know I'm like looking
that was
over
one
it.
of, so Pete, that was one of the things I talked to our legislators about when I ended the conversation in my short little 3 minutes, was I think the DOT, the legislature needs to allow the department to study revenue replacement options. They haven't studied it because they need to be allowed to do that and to fund it and to study it. And so I think if when the DOT is able to do that, they can come up with a lot of different options potentially, whether it be vehicle miles traveled or, you know, electric
Additional
vehicle
EV registration fees.
whatever. There needs to be a series of options, and once they are allowed to study it, perhaps then someone can bring it forward potentially for the future.
And just so everybody's aware, the department's been aware that the funding was a shortfall at least since 2005 that I know of. So they've been aware of a funding shortfall. Well, the cars have gotten more fuel efficient, and so you're getting more mileage out of your vehicles, less gas is being used, so less gas revenue is coming in, and they've been aware of that the gas use is no longer funding the road needs for a lot of years here. And it's been going on 20 years that I'm aware of that they knew there was a problem. And it's getting to the point where something's got to give, and we're all aware of that.
Christie?
Just general comment as a planner, it has gotten increasingly difficult to do things like increase impact fees. So I'm talking local levels. You guys were talking a lot of the federal and state level. There's all kinds of laws that sort of tie your hands on what to do with things that are fees, extra fees. And, you know, if you think back to this county commission and how it had a blue ribbon study to increase impact fees, and it chose not to. So we're stuck at 2000, the year 2000 level of impact fees for new development. And that can just go towards, you know, road improvements. It doesn't go towards maintenance and anything other than that. But there is sort of a system tie-in with all these things that we're talking about. But when you think of your, you know, people in Tallahassee, please urge them to not hamstring the local governments, because we might be able to come up with some of the best solutions. But if you're telling us as local governments that we're not allowed to have vehicle mobility fees and some of these other things that other local governments are doing, we're just going to sit here and talk about how we don't have money. Sorry.
Yeah, good point, Christie. Any other comments or questions? Yes, sir.
From a planning perspective, I thought it was pretty good having notifying the problem of the transportation network does not reflect the needs of the surrounding development and land uses. I mean, I know especially in the south end, you know, there's some major projects that are kind of on hold because the infrastructure is not there.
Yeah.
So I think that was good to recognize that and see how the governing board can push legislation.
Thank you.
Thank you. Anything else?
Greg?
Yes, Howard. Two things. One, under partnership and outreach, specific member actions, of course, this is for the governing board. But I kind of take this personally, and certainly the 3 of the 4 bullets on page 57, I would certainly endorse and do. I think as a citizen, we should all be doing this kind of thing.
Absolutely.
But I did hear something mentioned about a utility tax, and I did want to pass on one observation from my little community. I recently hooked up to fiber, and so I transitioned from bonded twisted pair over to glass to the SFP right on the Wi-Fi gateway. But interestingly enough, not one company put fiber down my street. 3 of them, 3 different companies put fiber down my street. What that tells me is there's money to be made in communication services to the house. And the only reason I can think of they're not doing it on the government side is the government doesn't have any money. So maybe, I know when I look at my bills, there's all kinds of taxes listed for my phone, FCC and 911, but you know what? Go look at your internet. Maybe we need to look at something like that.
Thanks, Greg.
Yep, thank you, Greg. Anything else?
Yeah, something that bugs me. It's, development pays for itself. And I mentioned before, when I was married in 1979, Florida had a population of 6 million, 24 million now. Why am I still getting hit up for money for this lacking infrastructure? If anything, I need a rebate check.
Okay.
Move to Alaska, Pete.
All right, thank you, Sarah. Good job.
Thank you.
Next up are reports. Our first report is from the FDOT. Good morning, Chuck.
Morning, Mr. Chair, members of the committee. I'm Chuck Copperman with the Florida Department of Transportation. First thing I'd like to discuss is some project updates. We have an upcoming project starting on October 27th, and that's a US 1 from Century Oaks to Myers Drive, and it's a safety and operations improvement project. And also I'd like to list some completed projects. First of all, the first 2 are US 1. It's basically the same project of resurfacing. That was divided into 2 separate sections. So we had final acceptance on that on September 5th. And our Hurricane Bridge slope restorations on State Road 528, 404, 520, and US 192 received its final acceptance on September 16th, 2025. The full September construction report is located in your agenda packet, so if you would like to reference that for any other projects, and if you have any questions, I'll be available after the meeting to answer them.
Yeah, Pete?
A comment, since, do you do all these PowerPoint presentations too? Because they're pretty good. I mean, since you took over, I can see in great detail what projects are being done, the costs, who the project managers are. You've really, really done a good job compared to what I used to get. I used to get a spreadsheet that was hard to read. And you've really, really upped the game here. You're doing good. Thanks.
Well, thank you for that, Mr. Actually, yeah, so me in collaboration with our COS counterparts in each Opera Center, we came up with this idea, and they've done a real good job keeping us posted with that exact format. So I'll pass that along. Thank you, Mr.
Do that. Thank you.
Thank you, Pete. Any other questions for Chuck?
Actually, I have one more slide here.
Go ahead.
Oh, I thought I did. Oh, there it is. Okay. The FDOT, we're having our District 5 work program public hearing, and it's scheduled for October 20th to the 24th. That week will cover the online option, which will be available those 5 days, 24 hours a day, with the ability to submit comments, public comments during that time. The physical open house will be held on the 21st at 3:30 p.m. to 5 o'clock p.m. at the FDOT District 5 office in DeLand. Address is shown on this slide. Visitors will also be able to submit comments at this event as well. Finally, public comments may be submitted at the website shown until November 7th, 2025. That'll be the last day for any public comments. A flyer for this meeting has been distributed to each of your seats, and I also put some extra ones out on the table outside if you need any, so that you can pass it along to anybody else who would like that information. So, Mr. and Mr. Chair, that concludes my report.
Okay, thank you, Chuck.
Thank you, Chuck.
Appreciate that. Any other questions for Chuck? Thank you, sir.
Thank you, folks.
All right, next up is Space Coast Area Transit. Good morning.
Good morning, Mr. Chair. Good morning. The only thing I have to report on today is ridership totals. July ridership saw an increase of 1.7%, and August ridership saw actually the first decrease of the year of 3%, but I'm still anticipating the end of the fiscal year to be at 1.9 million, and that concludes my report.
Okay, thank you. Any questions?
Yeah, Adam.
Adam Kohler, District 1. I want to commend the gentleman at the podium there. Very responsive. Thank you again.
Oh, thank you.
Okay, thank you, guys. Anything else?
Thank you.
Next is the public engagement report by Abby.
Sarah, could you go back to that slide? Wanted to acknowledge Terry Jordan is now the chair of the statewide Florida Public Transportation Association, and that is a big deal. And so we're very proud of Terry. Our chair, our TPO Governing Board Chair, Andrea Young, she wanted me to make sure that this got put into the slide deck, so we just wanted to acknowledge Terry, and that's really great for Brevard.
Absolutely. Thank you, Georgiana.
Sorry.
No, that's great.
Bring this down a little bit. Good morning. Before we chat about some upcoming activities for October and November, we're just going to look kind of from a high level and talk about some updates for our public engagement program. And so to start, it is this time of year, if you're a new member, every 3 years, we adopt a core work product called our public participation plan. And so the last time we updated this was in 2022, so it's already been 3 years, so it's time to update it again. And the public participation plan is really a blueprint of action of how to involve and engage the public in what we do as a planning organization. And it provides kind of a guide for public access to and involvement with the Space Coast TPO, all of our products, how to get involved in our meetings. And it really outlines our structure, what we produce, talks about our communications tools. It's a pretty lengthy document, but we've tried to really make it digestible over the last few years because it is supposed to be for the public. And so it also talks about different comment periods. So it's this time of year, we have 45 days for the public to review. It'll also come to you in a draft form for the December meeting. And so just up here is just some notes about the schedule that it will run on. We will be sharing it out on all of our social media channels. It'll be on our website to review. We'll be putting it in e-news. We really try to go above and beyond because this is the one product that really is made for public citizens to better inform them on how to get engaged with the Space Coast TPO. And so the public comment period, like I mentioned, is going to be 45 days. It's going to run from October 27th through December 11th. And that December 11th is our goal date for adoption by our TPO governing board. And so just lastly, we have a few different ways for the public, obviously, to make comments in writing, on the phone. And then what's been really popular with all of our core work products has been an online public comment portal that they can just enter their comments in. So as our municipal partners and our citizen representatives will be asking for you to share that out and any of your platforms or any of your channels, we'd be much appreciated there. All right, so moving on, just to recap, we kind of did a deep dive last time, so I'm not going to go as deep here for our communications channels because it's only been a little bit of time, but this is a snapshot from August 1st to September 22nd. And of special note, I just want to point out one thing. When you're looking at trending topics specifically for social media on Facebook, we had a large increase in our organic content, things that we posted ourselves and put money on due to a back to school safety campaign that was shared by a lot of our partners. And then in September, as it usually does, National Roundabouts Week saw a really large reach. People were having some really great conversations on a few of our posts. And in fact, if you see these top 5 posts here, the Roundabouts post alone had more engagement than the 4 combined of the rest. So I think it just speaks a little bit to what really interests the public. And some of those conversations were really interesting from a traffic safety perspective, seeing people kind of talk and have their dialogue online together. So looking forward, we have lots to cover in October and November: Pedestrian Safety Month, Blind Americans Equality Day. This used to be called White Cane Safety Day. Well, we'll be working with some of our local partners to recognize this day. Teen Driver Safety Week and School Bus Safety Week also fall during the same time frame as well. So we were working with our partners to highlight that. And then this is just a snapshot of some of our community partners that we're going to be working with over the next few months. And of course, this isn't all of them. We continue to add our partners as we add on outreach events, but it's really essential that we work together to have a larger reach and to reinforce our mission of Vision Zero. So with that, if there's any questions for me, otherwise I'm going to turn it over to Leah to talk about some of our upcoming events. All right.
Leah Nepo, Community Engagement Coordinator. So for the month of September and October, the public involvement team will be staying busy and visible in the community at over 16 events, and our reach is stretching far along Brevard County, so we'll be highlighting a few of those efforts today. Alrighty, so this past month's outreach included tabling events, professional panels, and a crosswalk pop-up, 3 ways that we put the education into action and reinforced our role as the community's on-the-ground resource for safety and engagement. So at the 2025 Florida Planning Conference, the TPO showcased how collaboration at the local and regional levels continues to drive progress across the Space Coast. So a special shout out to our Assistant Director, Laura Carter, and our Senior Transportation Planner, Sarah Crom, who each served as experts on panels across various topics, and Sarah also joined regional planners to lead a workshop about advancing transportation. Last week, the TPO also kicked off National Pedestrian Safety Month alongside Indy Atlantic PD with a crosswalk sign waving event at the PHB on 5th Avenue in North Palm. With the help of our partners, the team connected with more than 30 cyclists and pedestrians in just 1 hour, all of whom were wearing helmets. And we're proud to share that we were also featured in the Florida Today newspaper. And we tabled at Satellite Beach's Big Truck Day, encouraging children to interact with our safety materials and engage in fun conversations about how to do so.
Leah, I wanted to point out that Cliff Graham, our chair, was also on that, the Florida Planning Conference panel. So we appreciate your participation, as well as Bill Crow from the port.
Yeah.
So that was great.
Thanks, Georgiana. I had a great time.
In Space Florida, yes. Thank you so much. So we showed up at the Florida Planning Conference, that's for sure.
Awesome, I love it. So in Florida, an aging road user is defined as anyone over the age of 50 with a special emphasis on those over the age of 64. Florida has over 2.7 million drivers that are aged over 64, and it is predicted in the next 5 years, 25% of all road users will be an aging road user in Florida. And in Florida, motor vehicle crashes are the second leading cause of all injury deaths for this age demographic. So with this trend in mind, the Space Coast TPO partnered with the City of Cape Canaveral to host a grandparent-grandkid safety fair during National Grandparents Week. This fair included a safety presentation for each attendee, along with a helmet fit for grandparents and grandchildren alike. And we had vendors from AARP, Bike Walk Central Florida, and grandparents raising grandchildren there to provide information about programs that benefit aging road users. This fair came as a celebratory finale to the Aging Road Users workshops we hosted throughout the summer in the Cape, and each person, no matter their age, that day was fitted with a helmet to their head so they have a bit more confidence venturing out on those roads. This Wednesday is Walk and Roll to School Day, a national annual event each October, encouraging students to get out of the car and onto the roads. In Brevard County, we have 25 schools participating as of now, and Abby and I will be attending to 2 schools ourselves and passing out safety goodies for each student participating. And then coming up in October and November is quite a slew of outreach events that will continue our engagement in Brevard County. To highlight some events, the TPO will be going out to each high school that currently hosts driver's ed throughout the next month and hosting a pilot program about distracted driving to those teens. Additionally, at our next BTAC meeting happening on October 27th, there will be a sign-waving pop-up event to close out National Pedestrian Month at the crosswalk of Judge Fran between the Government Center and the School Board building. And then on Sunday, November 16th, the Space Coast TPOs will host the World Day of Remembrance for Road Traffic Victims, a day that holds deep meaning for our organization, and I'm sure everyone in here. It's a time to honor each life lost or impacted by traffic fatalities and crashes, and to reaffirm our commitment to safer roads for all. This event will be taking place at the Vieira Government Center, and the notes and details are on the screen. We encourage you to come and join us in remembrance and reflection. So finally, follow us on our socials to be in the know about what we are doing. Send us your city's events and reach out to Abby and I with any questions or concerns, because we can't do it without you all. So thank you.
Thank you, Leah. Go ahead, Eric.
So I'm really pleased that Vieira Elementary is participating in the Walk and Roll to School Day. So that's where my son goes. So kids will be meeting at the Addison Village Club, and then they'll be walking with the PE coach up to the school.
Awesome.
So I was happy to learn about that. So I'll take him there to participate.
That's great. Great to hear that. Thank you.
Anything else? Thank you, Leah and Abby, for your great communication and being so visible in our community and really bringing awareness to the TPO, to our citizens. We really appreciate it. Okay, next up is the local engagement, or I guess local government report. Are there any local governments that would have anything?
Absolutely.
Yes, Debbie.
Hi, Debbie Flynn. I'm Senior Planner with the City of Palm Bay. We have 2 events this week. We have a public meeting for a proposed temporary left turn closure on Malabar Road. That's tonight at 6 o'clock at City Hall in the Chambers Council. And on Thursday, there's a public open house for the St. John's Heritage Parkway Design 30%, and there's another public open house for everyone to attend that's affected by this area. Thank
Great.
you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Debbie.
Anyone else? Anything else to be brought before these committees today? Okay, this meeting is adjourned. Thank you very much.